Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's Nioh 2 video guide, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So after playing for about 200 hours and getting the platinum trophy, I was pretty much ready to move on to the next game that's going to come out. But to be honest, this game is quite a hard game, especially if you're going to be doing it without summons, maybe if you're a Dark Souls fan. And there's just so many little tips and tricks that I learned on this journey that I thought that I would make a little tips and tricks video before moving on to the next thing. Some of these tips will be small things. Maybe if you played Nioh 1 all the way through, you may know. Some things are completely new to Nioh 2. And I think there's probably something in there for everybody. So yeah, let's begin. So I thought that I would start off with some of the things that you can do with the menu. Now, the first thing is incredibly basic, by far the most basic thing on this list. A lot of people come in here from Dark Souls or that type of game and automatically just think that in this whole genre of Souls-like games, you can't pause the game. Well, that's not actually the case in Nioh 2. So once you open up the menu, all you have to do is press the options button and this will actually pause the game. I feel like a lot of people didn't realize this, and because obviously the game doesn't pause once you open the menu. If you just press the options button afterwards, it will pause the game and you can go and do whatever you want. The next few things are also going to be little things that you can do in the menu. One of these, which is specifically useful at late game, maybe post game once you're farming or picking up specific things, or you're looking for something very specific. You can go into the basic game menu and you can pick the rarity of the weapons that you can pick up. So if you don't want to be filling up your box with maybe yellow weapons or blue weapons and armor also goes into this category, you can actually change it so maybe you can only pick up exotic weapons or higher. This is very useful, like I said, in post game where you really don't care about lower rarity weapons and armor. This does only count for weapons and armor if it's like an item, obviously like elixirs or something like that. You're still going to be picking up any type of items. This only applies for weapons and armor. Another cool little trick that you can do in the menu, especially if you're going for a ninja build with a lot of ninjutsu or a mage build with magic, you can actually make it so there are more than 2 quick select menus for your shortcuts, for your spells, items and stuff like that. You can actually make it so there are up to 4 different menus. These are the menus at the bottom left of the screen with all the items and spells. Obviously, I don't recommend doing this if you're not going for those builds because it can get pretty confusing. Now, on the opposite side of things, I kind of wish that there was an option to only have 1 quick select menu if you're somebody like me that doesn't really use many items. And sometimes you may accidentally press the R1 plus the directional button and change the quick select menu where you don't have your elixirs, and then you're panicking and you press the elixir button and it's not there. You can actually equip elixirs on both menus at the same time. So I definitely recommend doing this. Just maybe equip both menus with elixirs with the same button. So just if you do accidentally change to the other quick select menu, you will use the elixir anyway. So the next things we're going to be talking about in this video are about the skill tree. Now, Nioh 2 has quite a massive skill tree. Some skills work in ways that others do not. And I just wanted to clear a few things out here that people may not realize, especially at the start of the game. So first things first, in the skill tree, if you press square, this is very useful because you can then see all the skills in a menu type layout. And I just find it a lot more easier to navigate. It's not necessarily in the best order, but it's still a lot easier to navigate. You can watch the video clips here and everything like that. This may be just a personal thing, but I definitely prefer it with this layout than actually scrolling through the whole skill tree looking for the one that you want, because at least on the menu you can see the names of everything. So let's start off with a few skills that I would pick up no matter the build you're going for. So let's come over to the samurai skill tree. What we're looking for here is the running water skill. Now, this basically what it does is, you know how you press R1 to do a key pose, and this will recover your stamina or key bar equivalent to wherever the blue bar is. So sometimes this is quite a risky move because you're probably in front of an enemy and you're waiting for it and you're probably about to get hit. So with the run in water ability, you can actually do the key pose by dodging. So you just quickly press the X button you dodge, and at the same time you will get your key back. Obviously it does use a bit of stamina, so you're not quite getting as much back as the R1. I definitely recommend using the R1 if you're 100% sure that you're going to be safe. The good thing about this is it also breaks the yokai realm circles, so apart from dodging away, you're also going to break those, so definitely useful. And in general, it's just a very kind of good thing to have. Once you've got this and you use this, it's going to be hard to play the game without it. Just keep in mind that you are going to have to learn it for each stance. There's one for high stance, one for medium stance, and one for low stance. They all do the same thing, but they're just different variables of running water. The other thing I definitely recommend picking up off this skill tree is we're going to go over to the magic skill tree, and we're going to pick up at least one type of talisman, yet it be fire, electric, whatever. Because even if you're not going for a mage build, having those 2 or 3 talismans every time we rest at a shrine is just going to give us a welcome boost to our damage. So now let's talk about the different skills on the skill trees. So we've obviously got the normal ones, which you just level up using the skill points that you've earned from locks of hair or from using a specific type of weapon. Then we've got these ones that after unlocking them, we're going to see 2 yellow arrows above them. Basically what these are is that you can simply upgrade them. It won't really change the effect, it'll just make the effect better. Next up, we've got these green ones. So once you've learned a green one, these ones don't quite work the same as the others. We're going to come over to the skill customization menu. And here we're going to look for a skill that we've unlocked and put on our character. And we're going to press square. And here we're going to see the list of green skills that are available to kind of boost this already standing skill. So these are kind of extra little abilities that you can add to other skills that we have learned. Definitely very useful, and you should definitely go and check those out. Next up, we've got the mystic skills. These are the ones with the kanji letters, the Japanese characters in the circle. So these you can only learn once you have completed the final dojo training mission for each specific category. So for instance, for the sword, you're going to have to go and do the final dojo training mission for the sword. These don't unlock until late game. You can tell that they're the last one or the specific one for the mystic arts because these ones will require you to have 120,000 proficiency with that weapon. I think excluding the Nioh magic and the ninjutsu, which require about 200 to 250,000. And that's the way you know that those are the specific missions that will unlock these mystic arts, which are kind of more of a really powerful passive that you can also equip over at the skill customization menu. And finally, in the skill tree, we're going to find these kind of empty slots. Now, they may just look like they're empty because that's it, there's nothing more to the skill tree, but they're actually empty for a reason. These are hidden skills. So the way you unlock hidden skills is kind of a bit of a lucky process. You're going to have to farm specific enemies or specific bosses to get their skills. Now, I don't know the exact drop location for all of them, but a few of them drop from the more kind of important bosses, and a lot of the skills that you get from them are skills that you can observe them use in that battle as well. So yeah, you will just have to farm bosses until they drop their skills, which will automatically be added to the collection. So that's all I've got on the skill tree. Next up, let's go into some gameplay mechanics. So starting off with something pretty simple. Sometimes you're using, say, a katana, and you've got its familiarity up to max. Now, practically it's almost guaranteed that that's going to be doing more total damage than a new katana that you pick up. Even if the new katana has base damage that is higher than the one you're currently using, but just the simple fact that the familiarity is maxed out, it's going to be doing more damage. And you don't really feel like changing to the other one because you're going to be losing out on a little bit of damage for some time. So there's actually a way around this. All you have to do is equip the new katana that will eventually be higher than the one that you're currently using to your secondary slot. And what this is going to do is, even though you're not using it and you continue to use the one that you are using, this will actually boost up the familiarity of your secondary weapon as well. I think it's a little bit slower than the one that you like if you've got it equipped, but it's definitely a way around this annoying process. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is probably something that you already know, but just in case, if you haven't played maybe Nioh 1, you probably may not know this, but we're going to be talking about mimics and fake walls. So just like on most Dark Souls type games, there are going to be mimics and fake walls. They work a little bit different in this game. I really kind of like how they work. They're pretty unique mechanics. So let's just quickly recap on how to loot a mimic safely and how to disarm a fake wall safely. So for mimics, what we're going to have to do is make sure that we count the number of golden bands on the side of a mimic. If it's got 3, that means that it's going to be a mimic. All we have to do is use the whistle emote in front of it, and then the mimic will emote back to us. Now we have to copy that emote. If done successfully, the mimic will simply go away and leave all their loot. If not, you're obviously going to have to fight it. You obviously still get the loot, but you are going to have to fight a copy of yourself. It's also worth mentioning that if you take too long to select emote, then it will also attack you. Now, as for the fake walls, the way these work is that we're going to have to select a specific color of emote. Now, he is looking for only one specific one. You get 2 chances at this, so odds are pretty good on our side. However, there is a way to boost our odds even more. So if you're lucky, there should be a grave next to the fake wall, and we're just going to hop over to the grave, and this is going to tell us how he died. So say that the grave is telling us that he died by using a yellow emote. That means that the correct emote is obviously going to be red or blue, and that also means that now we have a 100% chance of not screwing it up. Now, for the final thing in the gameplay mechanics I wanted to talk about is something that I wasn't really sure how to explain, and with the way that I'm going to explain it, it probably doesn't seem too great of a tip, but I can guarantee you that in very specific moments of very specific enemies, it is going to come in very, very handy. Now, a lot of people just use different stances because of the way the attacks work. Maybe they prefer the slow, more damage kind of thing. Some people just prefer the slow stance because of the speed, the DPS. And this may also change depending on what weapon you're using and so on. Now, I just wanted to talk about how important the different type of dodges are with the different type of stances. So obviously, if we've got a high stance, we can do 1 roll, and then we kind of have to wait a little tiny bit compared to the other stances at least to do another roll. Now, these rolls have increased iframes, but can be done quite slowly. If we go to the mid stance, we've got 2 chances, which is this is the one that I like to use personally. If you tap the button once, you're going to do a sidestep, and then if we tap it again, we're going to do a roll. And we've got the low stance that we can constantly do sidesteps in a very, very fast manner, but these are going to have less iframes. Now, this is all great and all, but there are very specific times in the game that it is very important to do either a sidestep or a roll. There are actually attacks that can only be dodged very specifically with these type of dodges. So for instance, this boss here, the one that charges at is, I can't remember his name right now, but basically you can actually roll under his legs, and this will actually stop him from charging any longer. Now, this is obviously quite important in this boss, but if we're using, for instance, a low stance, this is actually impossible to do. We can only sidestep around him, and chances are that he may continue charging. So obviously against this very specific attack, it is important to roll. You can obviously get away with it also in mid stance if you're quick enough to double tap the button after the sidestep, but in general a direct roll from high stance would be very, very good here. There's also obviously attacks that we can only properly dodge with sidesteps on the low stance, with repeated sidesteps, because these can obviously be done in a very, very fast manner. So if there's an attack that is a very fast attack that's catching up with you fast and you're trying to roll away but it doesn't work, and you're probably complaining at the game saying this is literally impossible to dodge, try going to low stance and try spamming the side steps, and I'm sure you do a bit of a better job at getting away. And that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I'm not sure if I did the best explanation for that, but I just really wanted to talk about how important the different type of dodges are for very specific enemies. I'm not telling you to keep changing for every enemy you encounter. Matter of fact, I only changed for 3 or 4 very specific attacks from very specific enemies. But I'm just trying to say that if you can't physically dodge an attack with one of these types of dodges, then try the other one. I'm sure it will probably work. So apart from all this, there are 2 or 3 things that I would like to talk about that I found interesting, or maybe people don't really know what they do. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is that around about the end of the game, you're probably going to come across a few weapons or even armor sets that have a little +1 beside the level, and a few people have been asking me what these are for. So what you want to do with these is you're going to take them to the blacksmith, and you should see a new option that says remodel. So what you can do with the armor and weapons have the +1 is you can kind of transform them into an alternative version of themselves. As far as weapons goes, you can make them scale with other stats that they're not normally scalable with. And as for armor, you can probably sacrifice like levels that you need to level up to get the special effects, but you get more defense. It's just basically alternative versions of that weapon or armor that you can't normally find around the world, which is pretty cool. And the final thing or little tip I wanted to talk about is the amount of elixirs you'll get when you rest at a shrine. So you normally get 3 elixirs for resting at a shrine, and the way you can boost this is literally by finding Kodama. So the Kodama are these little green guys I'm sure you came across. For each 5 that you find in a region, you are going to get an extra elixir when you rest at the shrine, up to a total of 8. Now just remember that if you go into a new region, you're obviously going to reset and they're going to be back to 3. And it's also worth mentioning that every time you change region, you will have to choose your Kodama blessing over again. Now, if you are going into a new region and you do only have 3 elixirs, this actually is still a way to get 8. Now, all you have to do is once you spawn back at the shrine after dying or whatever, you want to go to the Kodama Bazaar. Now, in here, you can use your Divine Rice to get up to 8 elixirs. So this is definitely very, very important, especially if you are going into a new region, you're stuck at a boss or something, and you miss having those 8 elixirs. So you can still get them, and Divine Rice is quite common in this game, especially if you are offering stuff to the Kodama. I basically went through the whole game constantly at 999 Divine Rice, so I was constantly having 8 elixirs. And yeah guys, that's pretty much all I've got for this video. There's already tons of tips and tricks I could be giving out in this video, but I thought that I would give you the ones that maybe aren't so well known by the community in general. And yeah guys, if you've got any more tips and tricks you'd like to share with the community, make sure you leave them down in the comments. I'm sure they will help somebody out. And with that said, hopefully this video is helpful. If it was, please go like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time guys.